So welcome, everyone. My name's Martin Gage. I'm the principal here at LCVI, and I'd just like to welcome everybody here, first of all. Last night, I was in Aurelia, and I was asked, hey, Martin, can you do a land acknowledgement tomorrow? And I said, sure, I can. And then I drove home from Aurelia listening to an audiobook, but mostly not paying attention to the audiobook, just looking out the window at the lakes and the land and thinking about exactly what I was going to say. And the same sort of thing this morning as well. On my way here, I actually come from Haliburton, so I went from Haliburton to Lindsay. And basically between yesterday and today, I drove the lands of Trillium Lakelands District School Board. And I looked out the window and I really thought about the history of the area. And I'm going to read the land acknowledgement that we have as an organization today. But as I said this morning to the other group, if they're just words, then they're just words. So I really want you to think about what the words mean as we go through it. Trillium Lakelands District School Board, as a learning organization, acknowledges that we learn, live, and work on the traditional lands and waters of the Ojibwe Nation, the Huron-Wendat Nation, and now includes communities from the Mohawk Nation, the Potawatomi Nation, and the Métis Nation of Ontario. Under the One Dish, One Spoon Treaty, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe peoples agreed to share and care for this territory for the benefit of future generations. We acknowledge their stewardship throughout the ages. And now, I'm going to call up Brittany Taylor, who's our guest from Curve Lake, to take us into the next part. So why don't we welcome Brittany?
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Hi, hello, Anin. Nindejnakaz Cheo de Mishkegi Maingan Kwa. Nagonjwa Nadunjaba Wawa Kesh Nadodem. So what I've done there is I've introduced myself in my language, in Anishinaabe-Moan. And I said, hi, hello, Anin. Can we say that together quickly? 1, 2, 3. Anin, hello. Anin, hello, yes. And when we say bonjour, or bonjour, or bonjour, we're not saying bonjour, like French, right? It's not French. We're also saying hello, but we're saying hello to our ancestors and to all the things in creation that are listening. So as your principal has just done the land acknowledgement, he's acknowledging this land and this territory. And he had said he was driving around in the land between. And that is where I'm from. This is my ancestral land. This is where my ancestors are all from originally, which is beautiful. And I currently reside in Ngojawang, Peterborough, or Oskbeenis, Curve Lake First Nations. That's where I'm from, but we do say Mud Lake or Treaty 20. So I just want to thank you all for coming today and listening really well. You guys are doing a great job. And just kind of open our time together in a good way. How many people here, by show of hands, if you're comfortable, are Indigenous or recognize or identify as being Indigenous? Anyone here? Oh, we have a few. Okay, awesome. Now, how many people here know an Indigenous person and has an Indigenous person in their lives? Wow, lots of us, almost everyone, right? And those who didn't raise their hand, you know me, so now you know an Indigenous person. So what I try to talk about with you guys, and this time and space is really small, is just, if we were to, let's say your parents were going to take you on a trip to Italy, you're probably going to want to learn a little Italian so you can communicate with the peoples there. And you're probably going to want to know a little bit about the land and what the land looks like so you have an idea of what your adventure is going to be. And you'd learn about the history of that place before you traveled. Well, living here and knowing Indigenous peoples, this is their land. This is their their first peoples, their origin. And it's kind of our responsibilities as friends and allies to learn about the culture, the rich culture of the Anishinaabe people that are here. We also call it Turtle Island, if you've heard that before. Yeah, so that we can keep each other safe, right? Make sure we're good to the earth together. Yeah, so we have some work that we have to do, and today we're going to hear from a few people that are going to tell us kind of what, or give us ideas about what we can do individually with reconciliation, because it's kind of weird, right? Truth and reconciliation. It's like, what does that all mean? And we're going to try to help you to learn more about that. Right now, though, I'm going to introduce these two lovely women to come up and sing and open us up with a song. Traditionally, when we have gatherings, we like to open up in a good way and close in a good way. So we're going to open up with a little bit of song, and I'm really excited for that. So here we go. Did you want to introduce them, Sherry or Kelly?
I'm just going to tell. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're going to start with the bear song. And this is, we always start whatever we do in a good way. And this is a welcome song. And the bear is the healer in our tradition. And this is how we're going to say it. Okay, thank you. The first part, we're calling the bear in. The second part, we're thanking him for being here. Here we go.
So these beautiful women are two members of Unity Singers. We have Barbara Rivett and Brenda Miracle O'Toole. So miigwech and nyawagoa for that. I'm going to hand the mic over. Welcome everybody who's out there in classrooms. We hope everything is going well out there. Don't forget, you will have a copy of this video after it's done, so you can go back and rewatch any parts that you need to rewatch. I'm going to turn the mic over to my coworker.
Hi, my name is Sherry, and on behalf of the Indigenous Student Success Team in Troy and Lakelands District School Board, and in fact on behalf of the school board, I would like to welcome you all here, whether you're in person, like you lovely souls, whether you're out in the live stream land classroom, or maybe you're seeing this as a recording afterwards. We really, really value and appreciate that you're here with us. We have a beautiful afternoon planned. Our vision is that we will be learning and listening and hopefully even dancing as we reflect on our past and our present and start thinking about our future. I just want to let you know a little bit about what this is going to look like. So we're going to hear from Brittany again, and she's going to share some really important messages about truth. We're going to actually have some people join us in a pre-recorded video. These are elders and knowledge holders, friends who have important messages to share. You might recognize some of them. They might have been in your schools. If they haven't been, they might be in your schools in the future. You never know. So pay attention. In between, there's 4 videos, okay? So in between the second and third video, there's going to be a special activity, and we'll get to hear some music again, but there should be hopefully some participation in this piece, so look out for that opportunity before we then kind of wrap things up at the end. So I just want to say also, whether we're here or out there, some of this learning is familiar to people here, and some of it is brand new. And you're going to hear a lot today. And sometimes that can be, we're in different places, so sometimes that can be confusing, but those of you that are present with us today, you have orange ribbons, and you're being asked to think of important messages to put on those orange ribbons. You might have something in your classroom as well. Listen for words that are said repeatedly, or ideas that are said repeatedly. You don't have to understand everything today. If you do, awesome. But it's okay if we don't. It's a constant learning journey. So if you hear a new word and you hear it again and again, it's probably a sign that it's an important word. So let's listen with our minds and our ears and then with our hearts as well. Think about how we feel about this learning, because that's important too. So now I want to invite up our wonderful friend Brittany Taylor to share, as she always does, very important truths. Come on up, Brittany.
Hello again. So today we are here to talk about truth and reconciliation. You guys were younger last September, but I'm sure you remember having Orange Shirt Day. And there are a lot of things that we can talk about, but you guys are a very sensitive age group. So it's really hard because sometimes I'm, in universities, or I'm teaching doctors or, adults, and you guys are still so small and still learning, which is wonderful because you're growing, and your brain isn't as full as most people are. So it's a nice opportunity to plant seeds with you guys. And when I say planting seeds, I'm talking about building relationships and planting ideas so that it grows and sprouts, and that you have good relations with yourself, with the land, and with the First Nations peoples of this country. I'm trying to think of how I want to put this. So what we do, not just today or tomorrow, 365 is that we try to learn and educate ourselves about the real history of this land of Canada, because for many, many years, your parents, myself, other people that you know, we were taught something different. When we went to class, like all of you, we had the same textbooks and the same teachers, but we didn't know, we weren't told what was going on. So you guys are living in an era that's amazing because you're being told the truth and you get to have that experience and also miss out on some experiences. Myself was, like someone else had discussed earlier, is, you know, we are born in Canada and it's great. We have moose and bears and mounties and mountains, and we're really proud to be Canadian. And when I really learned about what happened in Indian residential schools, I was really upset to be Canadian. I was so proud of being Canadian. Every Canada Day, we'd have a big party and we'd all get together and have fireworks. And then it all changed for me because I was like, what? Oh my gosh, they did what to Native people? I had no idea, and I was really disheartened. I was really upset about being Canadian, and what I lived my life on was a lie. We all know that lying is bad, right? How many people here know that you should always tell the truth, right? You always tell the truth, and you always be honest. And I think the most important lesson, telling the truth. You don't like to tell the truth? No? No telling the truth? Always tell the truth? Always tell the truth? Perfect. Is that you guys know the truth and you're going to grow up with that. So you're not going to get blindsided because you're going to know exactly what it is, exactly what the problem was, and what you're going to do to fix it. And I'm super excited for all of that. It's really hard, again, to have these conversations with you guys because you are so little, and I know you might not like being told that you're little. You're not babies, you're much older than that, but you're not teenagers yet, so you have very young minds. And reconciliation is a funny word, right? Put your hand up if you actually know what reconciliation means. A few people actually know what it means. Okay, awesome. So it's kind of like this big word, right? What's reconciliation? What I like to call it is reconciliation. It's an action. It means that you have to do something. Like, we can all just sit here and listen to myself, and we can listen to them sing, and we can listen to them talk on the TV, but what are we doing? Well, one thing we're doing for reconciliation and reconciliation is we're going to write some things on these ribbons, right? And then we're going to put those ribbons out for other people to see. So we've created a wave. People are going to look at that and reflect. Right there, you've done something. You've done something that's amazing. Because I'm going to tell you, 10 years ago, you would have never done that. And I'm very grateful for that. So again, we're going to talk about reconciliation, reconciliation, things that you can do here today, things that you can do tomorrow, and things that you're going to do over your lifetime. I know some of you, but it always seems the younger kids wear their orange more than once a year. It's almost like you guys actually really do love that color. Yeah, it's more than just about the 30th, right? It's every day. Every day we have to live with kindness. Every day we have to be kind to ourselves. When we talk about truth and honesty, it's being truth and honest with yourself. And that's what we want to see. We want to push you guys to do great. We want to push you guys to succeed. We want to push you guys to excel with yourself and with others. That's basically what the end goal is for here. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to pass it back to my colleague, and she's going to get the videos going? Here we are. Presentations. Oh, I didn't mix it up. Oh, there we are.
So thank you, Brittany, to Miigwech, for your words. Kelly's going to cue up the videos, the first two videos. We have words from Oskbeenis Dave Rice from Wasauksing First Nation. And he's going to be speaking about some other truths, and the truth that Indigenous people are, like, obviously still here, right? And that has not been an easy process, right? So many things, and we're not getting into the details today, here, right now, but so many things have been done to try to have them not here, and yet Indigenous people, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Métis, more, are here today. So he'll speak to that truth. He's going to use the word resilience. Listen carefully to see if you can figure out what that word means if you don't know. And he'll be followed by Elder Christopher Stock from Wahta and Mohawk territory, who talks about the importance of relationship in reconciliation. And then after that, there'll be a bit of an activity with music. Okay.
Focus on the door. The not be Indigenous guys will cut door there. The not be Indigenous guys will cut door there. It's originally the name, the language our people spoke. Our people walked on this place they call Muskoka, with the Haudenosaunee people, the Mohawks, the Wendat, Algonquins even. There's been so much people that walked on this creation. You see remnants in the bush of how our people walked here. So we are, I just want to honor that first being that walked on creation, Winnebago. We named everything in the language so that we as Anishinaabe people could walk here and know what these sacred things we speak of, the water, the air, the trees, the nourishment of the animals, are all connected to all this language we speak. Anishinaabe language is a very descriptive language. So when we speak of that, we speak about how resilient our language still exists today because of our ancestors, because of that first being who walked here, who made sure that we knew everything in these trees that we see here, from these pines, right into the birch, the bark, the limbs, to the roots, to the rings in the tree, to the roots into the ground, that rooted us up into creation. How resilient these trees are. That have been here since time immemorial too. They have generations of trees. So we give thanks for that and the language that came with that, but also our people, our ancestors, that we always honor our ancestors because of the resilience they had. They walked through a lot of things in this journey here that we call life. The good life. Our people walked that every day from the time the sun rose till it went down. Those were our days. So we always were harvesting something. So we believed in that way because it connected us to the creation and our original teachings. And the original teachings of all the life I spoke of. The water, the trees, the fire, the animals. All those things that are still alive in our Indigenous people's lives, right across the world. So we're connected to that being, that spiritual being that connects us to that creation. So when we think about being walking here since time immemorial, my ancestors walked here for a long time. My name exists because of my ancestors. That spirit name, and where I come from. Where I originally came from was Kansas City, Kansas area, down the Potawatomi area. We migrated. We got chased up here by the cavalry. Trail of Tears, they call that. That's where my people came from. We originally were chased and we ran, and so we're descendants of that trail. Very resilient people. Culture lives strong because of that. The language, the teachings, the songs, the dancing, respect to all this life that we speak of and all those beautiful things we see every day. So our journey began with the Spirit. I can only tell you my bit of my story of where I came from. Originally, I seen my mother in this creation. Out of all these beautiful women in the world, I picked my mother because I could see her spirit. Because I was a spirit before that, before I became this vessel. I seen her spirit through her physical vessel. So I chose her because she was a kind, caring, loving, gentle woman. And I got those traits from her, I believe. But my journey began there. And we went through a lot of things because of the remnants of the history of the dark history of Canada. We walked through that. And at a very young age of about 28, I decided to change. But the change came because I had to look at my life and where my family was at. So the resilient part is I became this person after 33 years. It took me to build this bundle I carry, this physical bundle here, this spiritual bundle I carry. I've learned from our ancestors. Always remember that every ceremony we do, even in our prayers, we want our ancestors. Why I stand here today is because of them. And our people will continue to walk here in the next 7 generations because we believe that we're going to pass these things on to the young people. And when we become aware in schools and mainstream to plant seeds of awareness and a bit of knowledge so they understand why we're so adamant about the creation and about life and about our original mother. It's connected to the women in our lives. So we are resilient that way because the resiliency of the creation that keeps us resilient as humans. So we honor that and we honor the life that I live today. Oh.
Sheshegwaning, the Honedan Hayum Jets, then a Wahta Nitawagano, Wakatsununiti Waganderhane. I offered a traditional greeting to you, and what it means is the great peace still with you. And from my teachings and my understanding, that's how we are supposed to address each other. After the peacemaker united all 5 warring nations of the Iroquois. And those warring nations were the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Onondaga, the Oneida, and the Mohawk. And later on, the Tuscarora joined. And what's really special is that we were given all these different things to remind us of those truths. And this tree here, this white pine tree, we call this the Great Tree of Peace. And every cluster of needle is a cluster of 5 to remind us of those 5 original nations that joined under this great law of peace. And that, for me, that reminds me of our relationship, how we were able to forge an alliance and throw our weapons of war underneath that tree so that we never have to pick up those weapons of war against each other anymore. And how we were able to honor each other as individual nations, yet collectively together as one family. To me, that is what reconciliation should be. It's not necessarily what it is at the moment, but it's a journey to do that. I mean, even the peacemaker, when he brought us together, that took years for him to bring us together. They say that his journey took 3 years just to travel to every community and then try to gather all of us together. And it only worked because they had to get everybody involved. And the last person to join that message of peace was Tadodaho. Now, they say he was a very powerful man, but he was so consumed by anger and hatred that he forgot his ways. And that's why they needed him to be a part of this piece in order for it to work. So they had to convince him. They had to get him to change his mind. And when they did so, that's when everybody was included. And that's what that story tells us about. And that's what this reminds me of. Every time I see that white pine tree and how tall and strong it grows, it reminds me of that. And that's a way forward. And reconciliation, it's about that. It's about mending your relationships and sewing things together so that we can join together. We also have to know and understand that reconciliation is not a destination, it's the journey. And it can take many lifetimes before we achieve it. But it is achievable. It's not impossible because we are here standing today, and we are the reminders that it is possible. So with that, I'd like to give thanks to everything in creation, give thanks for your opportunity, and have you just reflect on that. Because that's what it takes. It takes remembrance, it takes reflection, and then it also takes some action. And as long as we're willing to work together as one, then we can achieve that. Now go, Chimegwech.
Okay, and I believe we're back. Are we back out there too, Mr. Tyndale? Welcome back, everybody. I hope that we were able to hear some of the messages in there. Again, our teachings are that we hear these stories and these messages over and over and over and over again. You're never going to get or understand everything that a knowledge holder, that an elder, that our friends have to say. We need to repeat the message over and over and over again. We have an opportunity next to get up and move our bodies. This is an opportunity for those of you back in the classroom to get up and move as well. We're going to invite Unity drummers, Barb and Brenda, back, and they're going to sing a round dance. So here in the gym, you have instructions, but back there in the classrooms, you can get up and move your body however you feel you should with the song. For those of us here in the live audience, I'm going to ask the first row to stand up. Just the first row. If you could leave your ribbons on your seat or on the floor. And I'm going to ask you to hold hands, please. You are going to learn a traditional Indigenous round dance. And we are going to close the circle here. Can you guys just stand together? And then the back row, I'm going to ask you guys to come up, and you need to close the circle all the way around this way. Anybody in the back row, come on up here and join in over here. And we're going to make a nice big circle all the way around the drummers. I believe Brittany will guide us, and I'll hold the microphone if that's all right. So Brittany's going to show you what to do. It's really easy. You're just going to move your feet and your arms to the beat, and we go around in a circle, hence the round dance. Those of you back in the classrooms, get up and move your bodies. We've got the adults coming in. The team is going to join us as well to help us move this round dance along. A reminder to those of you that are in-house, there's some cords on the floor that are taped down. Be aware of them as you're moving, please. There's two, one right here, and one that runs out the back. So just be aware not to trip on them and try not to unplug them. Are we good? All right, if we could quietly return to our seats, Chimigwech, Nawagoa ladies. We'll give you time to settle back in the classrooms as well. That was amazing. You are wonderful dancers. I'm just going to ask and remind our audience to settle in quick, quiet down. Amazing. That was amazing. I don't know what it was like for you. I hope back in the classrooms you were able to get up and move, but in here it was wonderful. What an amazing thing to see all these kids come together at a round dance and learn a traditional song like that and a traditional dance. So well done. We have a couple more videos to watch, and one is going to be from knowledge holder Larry O'Connor, who is going to talk to us about our role in reconciliation. And then another one is going to be about, or from some voices from Trillium Lakelands. You may know some of them.
Michaela, what does reconciliation mean to you?
It means that what happened in the past was wrong, and learning.
Michaela, what does reconciliation mean to you?
It means that what happened in the past was wrong, and learning our true history and making positive changes.
And how do you feel about having culture in the classroom?
I feel good because the people that are Indigenous get to learn about Indigenous, and for myself, I get to learn about different cultures and this community.
It is important to learn about reconciliation at school so we can share our family's traditions.
To me, it matters to remember the past, and I remember that it will never be forgotten for the awful things that did happen in Canadian history, involving residential schools and all of the reserves that got treated unfairly, and all the other things that happened. And it's to recognize it, remember it, and build healthy relationships nowadays.
Makes me feel like I'm back in contact with my culture, and it's a big opportunity for all the kids that haven't had a chance to know what they're missing out on. It helps with their learning ability and cultural perspective too. I think it's amazing, and the future generation should do it as well.
What does reconciliation mean to me? It means speaking the truth even when it's difficult to say or hear. It means acknowledging my role and my responsibility as a settler on these lands. It means working and learning alongside Indigenous communities and leaders. It means doing with, not to or for. Living the calls to action daily in both my personal and professional life is a key component of my commitment to reconciliation, because without action, there can be no reconciliation.
Reconciliation matters because it can be an opportunity for self-reflection, empathy, and personal development. I think there is value in allowing individuals an opportunity to learn from their past mistakes in order to move forward and become better people. It also allows us to address past conflicts and promote healing and trust and build a better and more just society. And in doing so, a better future.
Reconciliation means that I can be proud to be Métis. Reconciliation means that I can eat bannock every day. People shouldn't be embarrassed about who they are, so it's important to learn about reconciliation at school.
Ani bozu tansi hello hinaka bodawedembe nadishnakas makwododum Halliburton Dunjiba Sheshegwaning Dunjiba. My name's Larry O'Connor and my spirit name is Barn Owl. It was given to me by a Cree Sundance elder. I'm of the Bear clan, and my home community is Sheshegwaning on Manitoulin Island, but I live and reside now in Halliburton County. My chat today is going to be about the role that we have to play in creating a better future. And if I think back to the time when I was a young lad growing up down in South Oshawa, I've got 6 sisters and 3 brothers. And when I went to school, we didn't talk about residential schools. We didn't know about them. My parents never mentioned it. My dad's mom died of tuberculosis in a sanitarium in Gravenhurst, and so he didn't even know his mother, never had the opportunity to have that conversation. It wasn't taught in our schools, and it's now being talked about in our schools. So if we think that we all have a role to play, our teachers do. Our teachers have a role to bring people in to have that conversation, to make sure that the word is out there, what's going on. Residential school is a sad piece of Canadian history. My grandmother, Marcelina, she lost a sister in the residential school in Shingwap. This summer I was in Nipissing at a powwow, and I sat with a woman who went to the very same school 100 years later. 100 years after my grandmother went there, another one did. That's a long history we have here in Canada that needs to be talked about. The 60 scoop is another conversation that doesn't get chatted about too often, but we need to have that conversation. If we're going to create a better future, we need to have serious conversations. We need to bring the truth out, and people have to talk about it. We've got so many things that have been hidden for far too long. We've got so many missing women and children and girls whose families need to have closure. And whether it's finding the remains of a lost loved one in a landfill that the government wants to turn their back on, as a role we can play, we can speak up. We can speak up. We all have a role in creating a better future. The policymakers for the school boards, they need to make sure that the curriculum is being adjusted the way it needs to be. The ministers of education have a role to make sure that the tools are there, and the governments have a role to make sure that the tools are there. We went through an inquiry into the missing murdered Indigenous women and girls. 231 recommendations were made. How many of them have been followed up with? We all have a role to play in creating a better future. Our students, you know what? We've got a special role because you're our future. You need to, whenever you can, get out and be on the land. We're surrounded by the trees here that my colleagues have spoken about. That connection to the land, to Mother Earth, is just so important. You need to make sure that your teachers understand that. You need to take home the messages that you hear in school when you have special guests come in and speak to you about Indigenous Canadian history, our history, the history that was here before Canada was Canada. Bring that home, because you know what? We didn't learn that in school. Share that with us because we need to hear it. Make sure your grandparents know it. Share that story with them because they may never have heard that story. Do we have a role to play? We all have a role to play. So thank you for coming in to be part of this day today, because this is an important part of our future and we're creating it together. Miigwech, merci.
Okay, welcome back, and I think we're back out in the classroom world as well. Welcome back, everybody. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the speakers that we just watched on a pre-recorded video. You know, some of the things that they talked about are pretty heavy, and a lot of our little minds, as Brittany had led up, may not be ready to tackle those. But the big idea is that there's been a lot of hurt. Have you experienced hurt in your life? Has your heart hurt? Has your mind hurt? Has your body hurt before? And you know, that's the big idea. I'm seeing lots of head shaking at me here, and I know that there's lots of head shaking there back in the classroom as well. So, you know, those big topics that our wonderful friends have spoken about can be talked about with our littles just as easy. It's just about finding the language that will reach them. So don't be afraid to talk about these with our youngest learners. Just find the language that they can understand. With that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Brittany. We're almost done. She's going to close us with some beautiful words, and then we're going to hear from our beautiful drummers again, and then our day is at a close. By the way, Parkview and Leslie Frost are here, in case you're wondering who these amazing audiences are, this amazing audience is. So I'm really grateful. They are doing a fantastic job.
Okay, so I just want again to say thank you, Chimigwach, big thank you, for sitting and listening with your ears and with your heart, and to the teachers as well. Thank you, Miigwech, Chimigwach. Thank you for all the work that you're doing in the 365. And I'm proud of you, and I'm glad that you're doing the work. Keep it up. Good job. Yeah, so lots to unpack, lots to learn and hear about. Again, you know, reconciliation. What is reconciliation? Reconciliation is taking action. It's doing something. It's doing the movement. It's doing this. It's talking to your mom and dad, or your grandparents, or your auntie and your uncle. It's going home and having those conversations. And as you grow older, your conversations will get more and more difficult, but you'll be educated. So I'm not too worried about you guys in your future. Yeah, thinking about what it is we're gonna write on our ribbons when we get to that after the singing, and just some reflection on what you can do maybe at home or in the classroom after, again, with your reconciliation, with your truth and reconciliation, with your orange shirt day. So thank you so much for listening and being quiet, and I will pass it over to the hand drum singers. Miigwech.
FYI, for those of you sitting in the live audience here and those of you out there, we did have a mic stand this morning, but somehow it grew legs and left us in between. So that is why we are sitting on the floor. They are going to sing a traveling song for us. Traditionally, a traveling song is meant to wish us well on our journeys until we meet again. Bamapi in my language means until we meet again, or until I see you again. When they begin to sing, we are going to come around with some markers. It is at this point that we're going to ask you to just lean over on your chairs. They are Sharpies. You can handle Sharpies, right? Be very careful, or we won't be asked back to LCVI. So be careful with your Sharpies. Write your messages, and then as the song plays, when your message is complete, look to your teachers for your next steps. Those of you at home, for those you don't know me, I'm Kelly Moore. I'm the new curriculum consultant, Indigenous Education Curriculum Consultant for Trillium Lakelands District School Board. On behalf of my amazing teammates for the Indigenous Student Success, we want to say thank you for joining us. You are amazing, and until we see you again. Bamapi. Thank you, everyone. Chi miigwech.